While the White House goes after more funding for police and crime prevention, some cities are taking an alternate approach, so-called violence disruptors. They use community-based mediation. But as NBC News Digital reporter Samee Ali reports, few understand their challenges, at least one expert saying the programs need everything that a police department needs. Safia joins me now. Safia, how do violence interrupters work? I'm not familiar with them. Who's using them?
Violence interrupter programs have been popping up really all over the country. You've got cities like Savannah, Georgia, Knoxville, Tennessee. You've got Indianapolis, who are either expanding programs or starting programs. And this is coming amid calls for alternatives to policing. This approach has been around for maybe a decade or so in larger cities like Chicago and New York, but has really kind of caught wind over the last 2 years. And really the way that it works is that you have these violence interrupters, these individuals who had a history with gangs or have been incarcerated, who are then trained and employed to go into these communities and diffuse violence. And they do that by mediating conflict and simply maybe just talking people out of a bad decision. And because they have this credibility in these communities, they're respected in these communities, they do a great job and can be effective in stemming violence.
Safia, this week the CDC reported that firearm homicides hit a historic high in 2020, nearly 20,000 deaths. You spoke with people working with violence interrupter programs, and they say some of their biggest problems are funding, a high burnout rate. So what are they trying to do to keep this initiative going?
So even though a lot of cities and even the federal government is pouring money into these programs, that funding has not been kind of equal and standard. A lot of the larger organizations, the ones that perhaps work with mayor's offices or county offices, are getting the lion's share of this funding, which leaves smaller, more grassroots organizations like one that I spoke to out of Jackson, Mississippi, that employs just 7, only 4 full-time. They're working nonstop and just relying on private donations and really just trying to take it day by day. When I spoke to them, they said that they're not sure if they're going to make it to the next month or the next year, but because this is such a personal calling for them, they're willing to do it even at the cost of their paychecks.
Safia, you report about a University of Illinois Chicago study on trauma in street intervention work. What did you learn there? What did they find?
This report really just proves and shows that this is really difficult, stressful work, mainly because for violence interrupters, their work stems from a shared history with the people that they work with. They have relationships with these people. So when they lose somebody, they deeply internalize that as a personal failure. And it's very difficult to process. It's a lot of trauma because for them, this is redemption. This is a way that they're trying to give back and save their communities. And another issue to all of this is that they're constantly surrounded by triggers. They're not that far removed from a previous life that they had, so it's constantly surrounding them. So with all of these things sort of layered on top of one another, there really needs to be more funding. The experts that I spoke to said there needs to be more funding, structured and intentional funding for mental health resources for violence interrupters, and really more of a standard conversation about what this trauma is doing to them.
Yeah, really tough work they're doing, no doubt. Safia, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.